Hey people, welcome back to the channel. So in our today's conversation, guys, is about should poor people have children or not. This is a very sensitive topic, but it's important we talk about it. So what do you think, guys? Is it fair to say that financial stability should be a factor in raising kids? Let's discuss this in the comments as we are watching the following videos I've put together, and at the end I'll leave my own comment. Please don't go away.
I said poor people shouldn't be having kids, and a lot of people hate that I say that, but it's honestly the truth. Children deserve stability. Children deserve to have safe environments. Children deserve to have consistent environments. And when you live in poverty, you can't provide that. You can't even provide for yourself. Like, duh, you're poor. So how can you provide for a child? Saying poor people shouldn't be having children while they are actively in poverty is not a bad thing. Children need consistency and routines and healthy relationships in their primal developmental years, birth to 5, so that they have the most optimal development, because the brain is 80% developed by the age of 3 and 90% developed by the age of 4. And brain research will show when infants and toddlers are exposed to poverty, it increases cortisol levels, the stress hormone in their body, which negatively affects their brain development. Like, many parents wanted a child or a little, many parents wanted a baby, not a child that they had to parent for the rest of their life. They think having a child is a little accessory, and it's not. It's a human being that's going to merge into their own person. Like, some of you parents be so for real. Yeah, poor people shouldn't be having kids because it's a selfish thing to do to bring a child into poverty when poverty has been deemed a form of trauma. It's not classist. It's not even teetering on the line of eugenics. It's truly common sense and basic humanity. Why would you bring a child into poverty who's going to knowingly suffer because you don't have the access to all the resources needed to successfully raise them as a proper child? It is basic humanity and consideration to be so self-aware to know that if you cannot provide for yourself or the children you currently have, you should not be having more children. And you realize poverty is not an inherited genetic characteristic, right? So there's no way it's teetering on the line of eugenics. As someone who has worked in early childhood special education and general education in early childhood programs, elementary schools, and middle schools, I can confidently say it is such a tragedy to watch families continually have children who can't even provide for the ones they currently have. These families truly have no shame because they announce it like it's supposed to be this big celebration. I'm sorry, but in what world are we celebrating the tragedy of another child being born into poverty when these parents can't even provide for the children they currently have? And because they're having another child that they cannot provide for, all those children now are going to have more neglect because there's another child added that they have to be responsible for when they clearly can't even provide for the ones they already have. Like, am I speaking French to the Chinese army in Russia? Does no one understand what I'm saying? Like, be so for real.
Poor people should not have kids. I'm 100% agree on this statement. And personally, I think if you are poor, like really poor, you cannot even afford your own life, and then if you decide to have kids, it's child abuse. It's irresponsible. Like, a lot of people don't understand. Kids need more than just love. I keep hearing a lot of people say, oh, I'm poor, but I love my children. Yes, because love is all you have. You have nothing. You have no money. Besides love your own children, what else can you offer? But you know what? Love cannot buy bread. Love cannot buy medicine if your child is sick. Love cannot put a roof on top of your children. Love is not money. You need money to raise child. When I decide to get diamond, I make sure that I'm fully prepared. I have a full-time job with a 70,000 annual salary, an apartment which I can afford, a year's emergency fund in my high-yield saving account, a car. I make sure that I can take care of diamond financially. And he's just a cat. Compared to children, the cat is much more low maintenance. I always want to have a cat, but I did not choose to have a cat during college, during graduate school, during internship, because I don't have a stable income back then. I decided to have a cat after I have a full-time job and an emergency fund. And that's the bare minimum for me to getting a cat. If you decide to have children, that should be the bare minimum for you as well. The stability that you can guarantee for your children. Yes, I know. Are you done? Are you done? Are you done? You want to go? You want to go? Want to go? Continue. Okay, continue. And you know what's funny is? A lot of poor people like to emphasize that they love their children. Like rich people or people have money don't love their children. Rich people love their children too. They just don't emphasize it because they can offer their children much more than just love. They can give them better opportunity, better education, because they don't have money. But love is the only thing that poor people have, which simply cannot do anything. Because as far as I know, love is not a currency. You cannot buy food, shelter, or healthcare.
If you are living in poverty on the struggle bus, trucking it on that choo-choo struggle train every day, don't have kids. Don't have kids, okay? Because they're probably going to end up in prison, and I can say that because I was there and I saw what happens and who's there. Why on God's earth would you willingly bring a child into misery just to ride the struggle bus with you? Like, that is crazy to me. Y'all are selfish as hell. I saw it in prison. I saw the results of couples and women in poverty going out there and popping out all these kiddos. And I saw your kiddos in prison because I was in there with them. And when we got out, I was able to make a life for myself as to where they went back to prison. And it's because you decided to have them and give them shit for a chance. It's very likely that if you grew up in poverty, your parents grew up in poverty as well and had you in poverty. And it's just a generational ass curse that's going to continue on and on and on until somebody's smart enough to break it. If you think that you having your child in poverty and saying, oh, well, but I'm going to love them and that's going to be enough, it's not, okay? Love does not equal opportunities. Love does not equal food on the table, a good education, and a good core friend group is going to influence the hell out of them. No, love does not do that. Love may give them a warm, safe, fuzzy feeling when they're in the house for the moments that they're around you. But all those other hours of the day, baby, the area you live in, the school they go to, their core group of friends, all that is going to determine and dictate and influence their decision-making and their path. So if you want the trajectory of their life to be straight struggle bus, then keep on having children in poverty. Okay? I stand on what I said. Do better. So, again, if you're living in poverty, you should not be having children.
Why do broke people have kids? They end up suffering because they've been conditioned to do that. They watched their moms do it. They watched their grandmas do it. And so they just kept doing it. They thought it was normal. Oh, we'll make a way. We'll find a way. I don't understand, you know. So if you're going to go mess around and have a baby and don't even know how you're going to pay your rent, that is very, very bad decision-making right there. That's no logic whatsoever. You know, that is poverty thinking, poverty mind. Okay. Michaela Pink says all they have time for is laying up in the bed. That's right. If that's all you have to, if that's your recreation, because you can't afford to go do anything else, is lay up in a bed with a dusty and y'all make some kids, you know, that's what they want. They want to keep the poor separate and never getting money. Okay. Because that means more money for us, more money for people with money, more money for people that are marrying for money, more Taco Bell workers to work in their stores that they own. You know what I mean? And I'm trying to give y'all some information here. Okay. So we need Taco Bell workers if we own Taco Bells. Who else gonna work at Taco Bell unless they need some money to pay for their dusty or to pay for their child support so they can stay out of prison, okay, or jail? Who else gonna do that?
Poor people shouldn't actively try for kids. Oh my god, why would you say that? Do you think only rich people deserve to have kids or middle class? That's unfair. If you ain't got no money and your boyfriend ain't got no money and y'all both are splitting a pack of ramen noodles, why would you have a child? But you can still have a good childhood poor. I was poor. Don't tell me my life, bitch.
People that are financially unstable should definitely not be having kids. If you aren't financially prepared to have a child, you should not be bringing a child into this universe. Barely even afford yourself. Bringing another child into this world is another form of child abuse. Because why are you bringing another child into this world for? How are you going to be able to afford them? Are you hoping that when they're older, they're gonna help you out financially, which is a lot to ask for from a child? And then you might say, oh, but I have so much love to give. Yeah, but love does not put a roof over the child's head. Love does not feed them food that can actually nourish them. Love does not take them to the hospital when there is an emergency. Chances are your child will remain in the poverty cycle because they are from a low income household. And then also when your child starts working, chances are you will expect your child to take care of their younger siblings first before themselves, before actually setting themselves up financially, which means the cycle also continues. They're gonna end up being poor as well, just like you, and then their children and their children and their children. And living in poverty it's not fun, guys. It is not fun. Us people who have lived in poverty, it's not fun. And you get people out here who can barely afford themselves, people who have a salary of 2,000 rand having 4 children.
Well, first, let's face the facts. Raising a child is expensive, from food, clothing, and to education. Healthcare also is a cost. When someone is already struggling financially, adding a child into the mix can be deepen the struggle. Unfortunately, this often leads to stress for parents and fewer opportunity for children. Studies show that children who grow in poverty often face challenges like poor nutrients, limited education, and fewer career opportunities. That cycle of hardship can be hard to break. Now, let's talk about ethical side. Some argue that choosing to have children when you can't afford to provide for them isn't fair to the child. Every child deserves a stable home, access to education, and chance to thrive. But others believe that love can overcome financial barriers. After all, there are plenty of successful, happy people who grew up with little. So why do we draw the line? Should financial stability really determine who gets to have kids? It's also important to look at the bigger picture. Poverty isn't always a personal choice. It's a systematic problem. Wages, housing, healthcare, and education all play a role in keeping people trapped in poverty. Well, it's easy to say don't have kids until you are financially stable. But the reality is much more complicated. Society should focus on fixing these systems so that more people can afford to raise a family without struggles. Should poor people avoid having children? Parenting is one of the biggest responsibilities anyone can take on, and financial stability makes it easier. But it's not the only factor. What is clear is children deserve the best choice of life, and often starts with planning. Children deserve the best chance at life, and that often starts with careful planning. If you are in a tough financial spot, consider focusing on building stability first. It's not about judgment, it's about giving your future kids the life they deserve.
Poor people are entitled to reproduce.
Poor people don't deserve to be having children. Aw, LJ, did that statement offend you? Poor people shouldn't be having children?
And thank you so much, guys, for being part
Sorry.
of this
Yeah, poor people
conversation.
shouldn't be having
Please
children.
don't forget
Poverty has
subscribe,
been deemed a
like,
form of
and
trauma.
share the
Your
video.
counter
See you
argument
in the
to that
next
is
video.
everyone
Stay
goes through
safe.
trauma. Therefore, it is justifiable that these parents bring their child into poverty because evidently they will eventually experience trauma. As an early childhood specialist, let me go ahead and educate you, LJ. 80% of the brain is developed by age 3 and 90% of the brain is developed by age 5. So the most brain development happens in birth to 5. So it is important during those years that children have safe, nurturing, and properly responsive environments. Because brain research will show that infants and toddlers that have been exposed to poverty create high cortisol levels in the infant and toddler, resulting in delayed